This is Justin AMZN for Friday, October 19th, 2018. Pre-market was actually bouncing a little bit from yesterday's close, which is a little bit of a hammer, sideways after hours, and then kind of making this S-curve shape here. And it sort of, kind of, maybe looks a bit like inverted head and shoulder with a funny kind of head. I mean, here's your neckline right here, which is right around where we're looking to open. And see what happens. See if it actually does, break out and move up at least into 1815. Like, a inverted head and shoulder should just continue on up, or maybe go up, retest, and then rally. But we're still in this no man's land between 1815 and 1747. So we'll see what happens today. Into the day, and we immediately pull back down into kind of this right shoulders range here, low here, and does not look really promising for this being an inverted head and shoulder. So it's a really big bearish opening candle, and then the very next candle we have an inside candle that's very bullish. A very large disparity in the volume. It is expiration Friday, the 3rd, or expiration month for the options. This Friday, the 3rd Friday of the month. So there should be some additional volume going on with things moving around. So we'll see how it plays out today. Continue on, and we got a little bit of a move up. So this is technically a breakout. If you were to get in bullish here, your entry would be about here and your stop way down here, and up to 1815 would only really be about an R. So looking for some smaller candles to do something like that. Here's a high wave candle, a little bit above the pre-market high, post-market high, and right above this last pivot on the open market when the market was open. So high wave candle here, you could totally bracket this candle bullish or a rollover bearish, and maybe take it back down to low of the day if it were to hold. So like indecision candle right there. We'll go another candle forward, and we actually did wick up. So somebody could have been triggered in there, but I mean, after these 3 bullish candles, shouldn't have been just getting in on the move. You really want to have a close above that. So the low is still above the previous low. So we'll see what happens next. A little bit of a pullback into a hammer, and then breakout. Okay. This would have been a nice quick S-curve, and you can go back and look at this on a smaller time frame, but we actually retested the opening high here with this candle and then bounced, and you could have really bracketed just that candle bullish, looking for that to continue on up, and that would have been probably pretty close to 1800 by 1795, and you would be at 2R around 1810, and then 3R at 1815. So it's moving on out. So here's an interesting candle. We're not quite up to 1815 yet, but it's a high wave candle, really low volume. After this kind of bullish move, you really want to just see this continue on up, just like this just went really bearish. Instead, you're indecisive in a pretty small candle, and the high here is 1809.10, and the low over here is 1807. So, and the low here is 1809. So we've come right back up, not quite to 1815, but into the lows from, was that Wednesday? Into these lows from Wednesday. It'll be really interesting to see if we're going to continue on up and contend with a little bit of this, but this is also just this bigger retest. We had this breakdown, no retest on our way down, had a little bit of a retest here, but nothing up into this range, into the 1815. To me, this high wave candle right here says, hey, now we've retested to the lows, come back into that range, which we couldn't do yesterday, couldn't get back up into this range. Now we've done that today. It's okay to roll over now. Pretty much what I'm seeing. And so right here, we start to roll over, and 2 candles in a row there. These are our, what is this? We got a nickname for this. Wicked pair bearish candles. They're around the same size, a little bit different bodies is okay. But, something can move in that direction if it just goes on and breaks out, bearish then. continuing that way. So it kind of has the extra volume, something of the that the direction that those candles are formed in. Almost an inside candle hammer here, and this is looking like, okay, if you're still thinking about the inverted shoulder, there's your retest. So here's your quick retest. Here's a little bit of longer retest. Also seeing some lower highs, some higher lows, going a little bit sideways here, and then we start to break down. Again, another little bounce here off of sort of a neckline. And that inside candles here, squeeze forming, bullish, bearish engulfing, and start to break down. And definitely having the lower highs had a relative low, but now we're actually taking out this low, just like we took out that low. It could easily continue down. And that's actually what it does for a little while. Continues on down, takes out the low of the day, chops around. This was really the move to get it on, even any sort of retest in here, moving on bearish again. And the rest of the day was really choppy. Did end up moving a little bit further down, but never actually got into the low. So I want to take another look at some of these candles in here where they're looking like bounces and see what you do with the options. And so let's zoom back out. Whoa, what is that? Unexpected error. That's not good. All right, let's see if this will work. I'm gonna zoom in on the day, and that's zoomed in on the day. Okay, so this is the 1800 call expired today, the 1775 put expired today, and the 5-minute candle. So had you been trading or getting in on a waiting for, instead of getting in on the breakout, waiting for a retest, getting in here for it to continue on up, getting on that candle itself had a range of almost $2. And if you had gotten in on that candle, you could have gotten above and a stop below, but again, $2, not the $100 R we're looking for. You got another little one here, and that only moved up a little bit, but if you're getting in here, that's a secondary retest, or even let's say you waited till this one, you were extra patient, gotten in on this one bullish. That candle has a range of a little more than $1, which could work. You'd probably want to get your stop down here below the open low, which would have been around 425, and this would have been just too hard to trade that. The high on this was 7, so I mean that's $3. That wouldn't have worked. Now here we've got this stair step and then a bearish break, and if we're looking at bears now, or at the puts now, that is at 10.15. You look down here at 10.15. That candle was exactly $2 at the close. The very next one was 250, but the low on this one was 175. So you could have actually traded this on the very next candle or gotten in on this one, either one of these, for $2 by $1 or 250 by 150. And 150 was actually slightly below the low when it was back over here. What's really, really cool about that is we were rejecting the 1815 price. We're rolling over again. This is the pivot we found. High wave candle here from 2 days ago, came back into that range. And this actual high wave candle on this option had a range of $34, and the high was under 2 and the low was above $1.50. You could have actually gotten here on this candle for probably two of these options, with an entry at 2 and a stop at 150. And depending on how this lower wick would have gone, may have been stopped out, or that would have been just too early to get in when it just went sideways. And so this being a high wave candle, the location it was, that's an aggressive way to play it. But there was the same opportunity here that you could have gotten in at 2 and a stop at 150, and actually had 2 of the options. Let's say we just got in at 2 by 1, and that moved on up. I mean, as this started to break down, taking out some more lows, looked like it may have been holding here, just sideways. I mean, you could have been taking a little bit of profit, moved from 2 to 5 pretty easily. That would have been 3-hour gain. That would have been amazing. if you just held on through this pullback, which wasn't even much of a pullback, it was just, a little more time going by and it lost some value. Then with this breakdown, taking out the low of the day, so this high wave candle actually took out the low of the day, then paused, and then broke down. And over these next 30 minutes or so, we rallied really hard. From, if you had been in it too, could have taken some next profit around the open candle range, so maybe around 8. So that would have been 2 to 8. That's 6R. Or had you just held on for it to break down, come way down here, that $200 could have turned into like 1,600 on this candle pretty easily. And even though we retested some, we actually pulled back a lot right here. We actually pulled back into this opening high wave candle, that range, not just once, but twice, and even had some small candles in here as it touched the 21 exponential and then continued sideways to down for a little bit, taking out and making a new low of the day, which meant the put goes a little bit higher. So again, you could have been, let's even be here. The range on this was 41 bucks. Could have just bracket traded this, or done something a little more conservative with a $100 risk unit, and that would have been a move from, let's call it 1050. Let's just say 1050 by 950. So 1050 easily could have taken your profit if you think, okay, it's going to get to the low of the day and just bounce. And so this price, the high here was 1770. Let's say it was 17. So you went from 1050 to 17. It's 6.5 hours on just that move in like half an hour. So this, this move over about an hour, this move over half an hour, just because you're patient. And I think there's a squeeze forming in here. So let me zoom back in and see. Yep. Excuse me. So we had a squeeze forming back over here. You could have gotten in on bearish, and another squeeze in here, which you probably would have needed to be in already, depending on how quickly this actually moved. And then a squeeze forming here that just continued on sideways. I mean, from up here to down here is the big move. From in here to a new low of the day was the next big move. And the rest of this was a lot of chop, except what I will say is that when you have these candles here and then a bullish engulfing of this and a retest, getting in on that retest and a stop below this candle would have been a nice bullish move. So let's go see the options on the 220 call. So 220, let's actually look at an option that could have gotten in the money. So we were right around 1760, I think. So if we go look at, let's look at the 1765 and see what that does. The call. Okay, now it says reconnecting and delay data, and I'm not sure if this is going to cooperate again. So I'll give it a minute. I think I said last time, was it yesterday or recently this week, I was running into this problem a little more. So I'll have to figure out what's going on with this. But yeah, it's not coming back yet. I think I had to threaten to close down or something. And then all of a sudden it worked. So far, not working. What we can do is we can go look at other candles, other charts. What I was going to say is let's see, so there's the put. Yeah, the call is not moving. I was just going to show for the call here, it got up not quite to 1770, so that's not the real one. We're only a little bit away from here. If we think we'll hold this low, go sideways, you could do an absolute zero and just risk the full R unit. Or you could wait for just the right setup into the moving average, pull back. The momentum is shifting to bullish, and then it goes bullish. And so just noticing here, there's definitely for 1765, there's the calls were out of the money, so it would have had no intrinsic value, only extrinsic. And then as you moved up into the 1765 price, would have actually gained a lot of extrinsic and intrinsic, because the market makers are just trying to get these options to zero, the ones that are out of the money, and it couldn't do that. this one until the very last 5 minute where it actually closed at 1763.61. So let's see if the call is back. No, that's not back. All right, so we'll have to get this chart working again for next week. In the meantime, we definitely saw a bullish flag here, and now we've got another gap, and we're looking like we're rolling over. Earnings is next week, so it'll be really interesting to see what it does. I love all this bearishness. Couple places we could gap to. Above this candle at 1845 is one location. Above this candle at 1858.56. Let's just round this one to 1845, which is the high. That works. So above that, or like above 1850, and then this one, if we round it up to 1860. So if we gap above both of these or one or the other, look for some bullishness. Now, if we gap way up and make a new all-time high, we're trapping all of these bears, a whole lot of volume of bears, and it's just going to run because so many people are trapped. They're losing money. They're going to have to buy to exit, and we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. It'd be great to have a little more bearishness into next week. That way we can just have these smaller bearish candles as helping us find a good pivot. Now, we've done really well to stay in this no man's land for like 5 of the last 6 candles, which, I mean, didn't really happen back in this range, which was the last time we were over here. So, looking at big picture again, we ran into some of that resistance, bounced off at this time. Pulled back, rallied through it, pulled back, bounced again from there. So this range it's been into this range a number of times. Going back to June, go back to early June, and just see these kinds of moves that it's made recently. It's like, wow, that's, I left these lines in here thinking it could come back, and it finally has come back. Made some good use of those. We'll see if we can just get rid of these, if it'll just continue to chop here, or if something decides to break down. Right now there's a little bit of a triangle forming, but it's a bit of a stretch, and we've still got a lot of bearishness on the squeeze breakdown. So we will continue to take a look to see how this is going to move. This is where you can see this kind of a triangle shape breakdown retest should continue on lower some. Should. Doesn't. Okay. We'll hopefully bounce off of a 1747 and be able to move on up. But we will continue to evaluate and find out what it wants to do. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.